Hello, thanks for joining me. I am Karen with Quilts Are My Passion, if this is your first time watching, and I am so excited. If you're watching today as we do our first live, yes, this is Prime Week, and I have several announcements to make at the end of the video, but before that I'm going through some specialty tools that you need if you are a quilter or if you want to begin quilting. And so follow me and let's just have some fun because I love quilting. I hate sewing. I know everybody's getting into garment sewing right now. No, not me. I will stick with quilting. There's no zippers, no buttonholes. So let's get started. The first thing you're going to need as a quilter is a rotary cutter. And I have several options. I think I have 5 right here on my table. This Fiskars is my very first rotary cutter from 25 plus years ago, and it still works great. I don't use it very often just because I have kind of graduated to different ones, but all of these are available on my Amazon store. The reason I encourage everyone to get a really good rotary cutter is I've had enough people in my classes over the years that when they bring in a rotary cutter that they've tried to save money on, and I'm not saying you have to go super expensive. The Fiskars certainly is not the super expensive brand, but the blade just would not roll. And they ended up having to either borrow from me or borrow from a classmate until they could run over to the store or whatever they needed. So I have the Famore rotary blade. This is on a, I can't even remember what it's on, but it glides really easily. It looks like I need a new blade in it. That's how fast I go through blades. But it's on a ball bearing, that's the word I'm looking for, and it's great for left or right-handed people. So there is that option. My favorite and the original are the OLFA. If I have no other choice, I will get an OLFA in the splash because it's got an easy blade to change. You just pop the little guy right. I say that, and because we're live, it's not going to be super easy. You just pop that clip and take care of changing your blade. Be very careful when you handle it that you don't cut yourself and snap it back. The tricky part about this for beginning quilters is they always forget to close the blade, and we don't want any of that when we're sewing. Every time you set your blade down, you close your blade. That's why I graduated to this one. This is a squeeze handle that drops the blade. If I squeeze it, drop the blade. I have no idea what camera guy is going on, but that's how that one works. And it's just a simple lock the blade in place so you can't squeeze it, and then you undo the little washer. And I always say when you trade, make sure you've got, when you put your blade back in, you make this look like a cowboy hat. Because after all, who doesn't love a cowboy? And then you screw this back on. And you can put your blade left or right for that one also. But this has become my all-time favorite. This is probably the more expensive of the 5 that I have. This is by Creative Grids. It is weighted. And the reason I chose this one is because I had shoulder rotator cuff surgery in my right arm last year from years and years, and I'm not kidding, of using a rotary blade. And I just recently had wrist surgery also from years and years of using a rotary blade and playing the piano. And I needed a little heavier blade or a heavier weighted rotary cutter. There are all kinds out there. I know there's more than just these that I'm showing you, but this Creative Grids one, I truly recommend it. I have had many people who I've had to invite into the fabric store even to try out the different rotary cutters before they could find one that they could work. And because this one is weighted, it takes less stress and strain. I've been using this one a lot lately. Let's just see how well it's going to cut today. It cuts just beautifully, and I hardly push. And you can flip the blade left or right. Again, the problem is going to be you have to remember to close that blade when you set your rotary cutter down, but that's what you want to do. Don't forget to get new blades when you buy your rotary cutter. Always buy a pack of extra blades. I usually buy mine in the 10 pack. I write new on my new pack, and I write old on my old pack, just because I have to store them some way. The old ones, when this gets filled, I just throw this away. And the blades are all protected. No one's going to get cut on them. All right. The other thing you need, obviously, if you're going to use a rotary cutter, is a cutting mat. Now, the one I have, this is by Riley Blake. They don't make this mat anymore, so I recommend an OLFA mat. A Fisker's mat is good. A Creative Grids mat is good. You want a heavy-duty mat. This one is a double-sided. It's black on the other side, so if I have a lot of white fabrics that I'm working on where I can't see on my grid, I'll just turn it the other way. The thing to remember on your rotary mat, because a lot of them come with, you know, your circles and your angles. I don't use my rotary mat for measuring very often when I'm cutting. I should qualify that. When I'm cutting, I do use it to measure strips of fabric if I have to. I do use it for other things where I will measure if I have a huge piece of fabric that will not measure with my ruler. I'll measure it with my mat. However, your mat contracts and expands according to the temperature in your room. So that's why I don't use my mats for measuring, but I use them for cutting, because I cannot imagine what my table would look like if I used my rotary cutters on my table without a mat. Heaven forbid. So get a really good quality mat. Don't scrimp, but don't go cheap again. I am always about buy what you can afford, and if you can upgrade later, go ahead and upgrade. You want your mat to last a long time. I think the last mat I had lasted me a good 10 years because I took care of it. This one is about 4 years old now, and I love this mat. And so they make them better. They make them in pretty colors. Have fun with your mat. You deserve pretty things. You need to make sure you can see your grids though and see your fabric on it. So make sure you look at that. Green is the most common color, I think, because Omni and OLFA both came out with green mats originally. But gosh, designer colors, have some fun with it. You do need a good ruler when you're starting out quilting, and all of these tools can get really expensive. I know. Little history here. When I started quilting, I had a different husband, and I was so nervous when I got to the counter and added up my rotary cutter, my mat, and just my ruler. I hadn't even gotten into the fabric yet, and it's not a cheap hobby. I still have my original ruler as well as my original rotary cutter that I just showed you, and if you invest in good quality, they will last a long time. My original ruler, all the markings have worn off, and all the sticky non-slip, well, they're not really sticky, but the non-slip dots, because I started with Creative Grids. That's what the store sold me when I went into them. And there are a lot of different brands of rulers out there. I just found I could see the markings on the Creative Grids rulers much better than I could on the other brands. So keep that in mind. Look at it. Take it up to the counter at the fabric store and lay your ruler on fabric and see if you can see what it is. I'm recommending these. I realize you can't do that if you're shopping on Amazon and you can't lay your fabric down and see if you can see it. I already use these. I know you can see them. I know you can see the markings well. Creative Grids has done a fabulous job of that. They've got white markings that are the 1 inch, and then they've got the black markings that are on the 1/2 inch. So depending on which direction you rotate your ruler, you just have to remember that when you're quilting. It's got your 1/8 and 1/4 inch markings and your 1/2 inch markings, plus it's got these fabulous dots, these non-slip dots, and there's a non-slip surface that runs the whole width of the ruler on the edge. So that helps keep your ruler in place and keeps it from slipping. And I say, once you've started with a ruler, you stay with that ruler brand as much as possible. So, like I said, I don't line up with my mat. I use my mat for my cutting surface. I'm going to measure off of my ruler. So you want a good, accurate ruler. And if you vary between brands, your ruler could be printed up to 1/8 of an inch off. So who knew, right? We think measurements are measurements, but sometimes they're not. And so you just want to make sure you've got a good ruler. I like the 6.5 by 24.5 inch ruler because I can cut a whole width of fabric. I can cut up to 6.5 inches wide. I can stabilize the ruler, and really truly, if you learn how to quilt with me, I teach you how to walk your hand. I see so many people not do that. They just hold the ruler and cut, and your ruler can slide. So I always say you're going to just walk your hand, and this is how it works. I'm going to put my pinky on the outside edge of my ruler right here, and I've got my fingers up just like this. Now, I am a piano player, and people always ask me why my knuckles go flat, because piano players are supposed to have the perfect curved fingers, and mine never did. They always went flat on that middle joint. So, you know, however your hand works, that's what you're going to do. I'm going to slide my rotary cutter up to my fingertips right here. I don't want to go past these 2 fingers. Keeping those fingers in place, I put my thumb in and I walk my hand up again, and then I will continue cutting. And that helps to stabilize my ruler and give me an absolutely perfect cut. I've also been known to take a 5-pound hand weight and anchor my ruler when I'm doing a big cut or a lot of cuts. That's just a little trick I learned from Donna Jordan, but absolutely, those 3 things are primarily what you need to get right now on Prime days. But we have more. Let's go over to the ironing board. I have to laugh because if you hear me sniff, I have bad allergies year-round here in St. George. I'm also allergic to fabric, and I just cut fabric, so there's a little fabric dust, and so if you hear me sniff, that's what you're going to hear. I just also realized I forgot to bring my squares over for pressing, so we're going to pretend. This is my wool mat, and when I learned about the wool pressing mats, they were a game changer. I actually have one that I cut to size for my ironing board. Right? So this is the one I take to class. This is the one I recommend you start with. These are not cheap. And yes, they do smell when you first start sewing with them. Wool, right? When you think about when you get a wool sweater wet, it smells bad. These are going to smell a little bit. I've had this one for 3 or 4 years now. It's very well used. That's why it's a little discolored, because there's I do need to wash it. But a wool mat is really important for your pressing to get your seams flat. Okay, so I'm going to recommend a wool mat. A mat this size 2 can travel with you to classes. You can put it on a table. Don't ever put it on your mat, your cutting mat. The steam will go all the way through and can warp your mats, but you put it on a hard surface and it gives you a great pressing surface. The other thing you're definitely going to need when you start out quilting is a really good iron. I like the PurSteam brand, and I know there's a couple of these models that are on sale right now for Prime days, and I like steam. Some people iron dry. I have always used steam. That's how I was taught. Obviously, you can use steam or not, because gosh, there's so many different ways to do quilting. This wants to, let me start it. This has an automatic off after a few seconds, and it also will beep at me when it goes off. So sometimes if you hear a beep in the background, you'll know that that is why. I have a very good wool cotton setting on this iron. It has steam. I can turn the steam off for the times I don't want steam. But I found the PurSteam is a very good mid-price iron, and they have a fabulous guarantee, and I think they're made in Montana, actually. So I like American made, but American made. Sorry, talking fast, craziness. All right, it's a 1700 watts, so I know it's going to get super hot. And this is the iron. This is a full-size iron. I know there's a lot of people out there that like smaller irons. I take a smaller iron to quilt class, but for most of my pressing needs, I like a full iron because I do so much pressing, not ironing. That's a whole nother animal. And anyone wants to stay around and watch me iron my husband's shirts after our live, feel free. Just kidding. I'm not going to do it today. That's boring work, although they are his father's day treat. I digress. All right, so those are the 5 important tools that you can get on Amazon. Don't forget your ironing board if you don't have one, so we'll make it 6. But let's talk about sewing machines, because if you're learning how to quilt, if you're beginning quilting, if you need to upgrade, let's talk about sewing machines. So come over to my machine here. Now, I have worked for 2 different sewing machine dealers over the last 15 years. Whew. I have to think how old my grandsons are. That's about right, 15 years. Yeah, wow. And lose track of time. And when I started quilting over 25 years ago, I had an old Singer that was my mother's from 1959, top of the line, fabulous machine. I had a love-hate relationship with it. The reason I didn't like it is because as I sewed, every time I started sewing, my fabric would either go down the hole right here, that's for your needle, in the throat plate, or it would bunch up. And I got so frustrated with that. Plus, every time I sewed 2 pieces of fabric together, and I'm going clear back to when I was in home ec, in the 1970s, I always had one piece of my skirt or one side of my pant leg that was longer, right? It would just go long like this. And no one ever told me. My mother, who's a home ec teacher, never told me. My home ec teacher never told me. It was not until I had been in the quilting world and actually started at the quilting fabric store that the ladies there told me what was the problem was. And this should be common knowledge. The feed dogs that are right here were pulling my fabric through faster on the bottom than the fabric that was sitting underneath the presser foot on the top. And that's why I was always getting my squares. They could start out absolutely perfectly, and I could pin them, and I would still get to the end of my pin, and there would be a tiny bit of my square just hanging out there, and I had to trim. And I'm like, I don't understand what is going on. And the feed dogs were feeding that through faster. So if you have that problem, be aware and invest in a walking foot. Now, I have FOF machines because they have a built-in walking foot. We got camera guy swinging around here. It's this black guy right here. This disengages for like certain things that you're doing where you don't want that walking foot engaged, or it locks in place. So you get even feeding of your top and your bottom fabric. There are little grooves under that little foot that line up with this center groove right here. I wish I could make it so you could see that better. Right there, that center set of that center set of feed dogs, and it just helps pull all the fabric through together. That's why when you see a FOF presser foot, if it has an open back, like these 2 have an open back, that's so that walking foot, or their IDT, which is the integrated dual technology, can fit in there and help feed your fabric through. So that's a fabulous thing to have. I've got my 1/4 inch foot. Not every machine comes with a 1/4 inch foot. So if you don't have one and you're wanting to start quilting, make sure you purchase one. And I'm going to hit on something right now. I know you can't buy a Passport machine or a FOF machine online. You can buy it through the FOF website, but you can't get it at Amazon Prime, and that is okay. There's a lot of machines that are available. This is my concern. If you have never sewn before, do not buy a machine online because there's nobody there to teach you how to use it. You should get free lessons from your dealer on how to use your machine and how to use all the different technologies that are on your machine. If you're getting just a really basic machine without a lot of fancy stitches, really truly for quilting, all you need are a zigzag and a straight stitch. If you're going to make pillows, maybe buttonholes. I don't know. I don't know any machine that doesn't make buttonholes anymore, but they all make buttonholes. But you should have a class on how to use your machine and how to care for it. That's a totally different class. I love this machine. This has become my very favorite machine to sew quilts on because it has that walking foot. It has, excuse me, it has a needle down so I can drop my needle. The only thing this machine doesn't have is when my needle's down, hover. I have a hover feature on my top of the line machine, but that's okay. I can just reach my hand in and raise my presser foot to move my fabric. That ability to stop sewing and have the machine stop it down, let me show you what that looks like. Stops down is so huge. That's just a big deal for me because I've done enough sewing where you're playing with your flywheel or you stop and your needle stops up and then you've got to line things up again because you've turned a corner or making a curve, right? I don't know. I used to put sleeves in and hate them because I had giant zigs in because my machine didn't have this feature. So that is really important to me. This does not have a lot of throat space. You know, your throat space is from here to here, but this is enough to do quilting. I promise it is. I've done table runners, I've done quilts on this, full-size quilts, twin size, lap size, big quilts on this little machine. It's very doable. You don't need to have a great big machine. Does it make it nicer? It does, but it's not necessary. I think the things you need to remember are to get a good machine, make sure you get a 1/4 inch foot, have a walking foot, especially if you're going to do your own quilting. That's very necessary. That all comes on this machine, on the Passport 3.0. So I am a FOF person, mostly because of that built-in walking foot. When I jumped to that one, I was sold. And I can't wait to have you join us. This brings me to my big announcement. I am starting in August. I almost said January. I'm like, that's months and months away. We can't wait that long. I'm almost ready to start in August a monthly subscription where we will do different projects that are perfect for beginner quilters and you won't get bored with just doing one project. There should be like one project a month. We'll be doing different techniques that will help carry the whole thing through the month. Our first project is going to be a charm pack quilt with borders. And the reason I'm adding borders, you need to know how to put the borders on so your quilt lays flat and doesn't wave. Then we'll quilt it and bind it all in our class starting in August. I cannot wait for this. You can do 1 or 2 charm packs. 1 charm pack makes for a baby quilt. 2 charm packs makes a great lap size quilt. I don't know, maybe I was thinking leg lamp because it is Christmas, right? We are 6 months away from Christmas today. Go figure. I can't believe it. Anyway, so this is my lap size quilt that we'll be starting on. It will probably be gifted to somebody because it's time to start making Christmas gifts, and that's what I do. So you're going to go, well, how can I sign up for that, Karen? It's very simple. Right now, the best way to sign up for that is to go to my website or go to the link that is pinned under this live video for my Smart Start Quilters Toolkit, which has links to a lot of the tools I've talked about and a lot more tools. Get signed up there so you're on my email list. So as we get closer, you will know how to sign up and how to join. I haven't decided yet how much it's going to be. There will be a monthly fee. You'll get to sew with me live. You will get to have supply lists and a printed sheet of the steps that we're doing, so you'll never be at a loss. You'll have access to the program once you have signed up. So if you can't join us one week, you'll be able to catch it on a replay on my website. I'm really super excited and really looking forward to having you join me here. This is my answer to teaching in a classroom because I was I felt I needed to reach more students and I could have more control over what was being taught this way. And I know I have a lot of students who are already members of my Smart Start Toolkit, and just follow along, wait for the email, and then you can join me when this starts too. You'll get the same notification, and we'll be doing more advanced things as we go along. But to start with, this is going to be really a fun project. It'll be super easy to get done, and I can't wait to have you join me. So again, it is quiltsformypassion.com/smart/start. And I'll have Camera Guy, also known as my IT department, also known as Quilter's Husband, pin that to the comments. But I sure hope you sign up soon and join us, and that you take advantage of all the deals that are in Prime Week right now. And I will see you the next time I go live, which should be soon. All right, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.